I feel like there's this change in our culture that's been building for some time now. In the mid to late 2020s, we're seeing this change in our media, in the movies, TV shows, the books that we read, video games that we play. And it seems like we're shifting into more of a hopeful time period, a more aspirational time period, you could say. It seems that in the 2010s, it was all about subverting expectations and about taking our heroes and turning them upside down, turning them on their heads. It was a time of anti-heroes, a time where you could make fun of the tropes that, people had come to love over the centuries before. But it seems like times have changed. People now are more interested in likable protagonists, in heroes that they can root for. They want stories that are hopeful and uplifting and not nihilistic. Of course, I'm speaking in generalities right now. There's still room for anti-heroes and some subversions, but I think by and large, people want heroes that they can look up to. They want to leave the movie theater feeling good in their hearts, or they want to close the book feeling like they can go take on the challenges of the world. To put it simply, I believe that people are hungry for real heroes. This is a deep desire that I believe can be found in all people across all cultures. Because there are heroic tropes that are timeless. And these stories are timeless because they touch upon universal truths. And it just seems that nowadays, people want more of that. With all the chaos in the world, with politics and technological advancement and wars, I think people want something that touches that divine spark in all of us. Something that gives us hope for the future. And this is a phenomenon that we've seen before. In the 1960s and 70s, times were pretty bleak. There was a lot of crime and distrust in systems. There was the Vietnam War and all the stuff going on with civil rights. And in the time, you could see that reflected in the movies and music that was produced. It was a time with a lot of cynicism and angst and rebellion. Then, in 1977, came Star Wars. As pretty much all of us know, Star Wars is a timeless tale that follows the hero's journey. It follows Luke Skywalker, who's a moisture farmer on some distant planet of Tatooine, who gets called on this epic adventure to become a Jedi Knight. It's a classic tale of good versus evil, where the Rebel Alliance takes on the Galactic Empire and destroys the Death Star. And it wasn't revolutionary because these ideas were new, it was revolutionary because it came at just the right time when people needed it. And Star Wars, as we know, became immensely successful. It changed people's lives and led this new momentum going into the 1980s. It seems to me that we're in a similar period now. COVID hit the world in the early 2020s. There's been upheavals across the world and wars and politics, and you have the advancement of AI, artificial intelligence, and a lot of fear. And in this period of economic and political uncertainty, people are craving hope. Because deep down, I believe that people need heroes to look up to. And in this crazy world, we all want stories, it seems to me, that uplift. We want stories that reflect those timeless virtues and paragons to lead the charge into the unknown. Which I believe segues into movies like Project Hail Mary. Now, the movie's only been out for about a week, but all indications show that it's wildly successful. And having read the book, I can see why. The story, written by Andy Weir, takes place on modern-day Earth, and the sun is dying. And scientists the world over try to come up with a plan to figure out what's going on and how to solve this existential crisis that will destroy all of civilization. And you have this protagonist, Ryland Grace, who is a middle school teacher, a middle school science teacher. And he's a brilliant man, he's very intelligent, but he's also flawed in a lot of ways. And through a series of events, he gets put on this mission, Project Hail Mary, that sends him out of the solar system to try to find a solution to this problem that seems impossible. And Ryland Grace, though flawed, is a good man. And over the course of the story, we get to see him face challenges and overcome impossibilities. And in a lot of ways, Ryland Grace embodies the hero that all of us are capable of becoming. Project Hail Mary is a super interesting story with a lot of science and a lot of jargon, but at its heart, it really is a timeless story of man against nature and overcoming adversity. It's a story of denying your own self-interest and sacrificing yourself for the greater good. And I believe that's why it's really resonating with people. The book resonated with a huge audience, and now the movie. And that's just one of the examples of why I feel like there's this cultural shift right now. This is something that we also see in Westeros of all places with Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. The main protagonist, Sir Duncan the Tall, or Dunk, is an everyman. He's a squire whose knight master dies on the road, and he decides to enter a tourney. He decides to become a knight himself. And the prospect seems impossible because he's going up against knights who have had a lot more training than him. But unlike those other knights, Dunk has a good heart. He's a knight who remembers his vows. And although The Hedge Knight, which is the novella that the first season was based off of, is a relatively simple story, it also has a lot of those timeless hallmarks that make it amazing. It's got clear good versus evil, and although it does have some of that George R.R. Martin grimness sprinkled in, it's also a very heartening story. And just like Ryland Grace and Luke Skywalker, Sir Duncan the Tall is the kind of guy that you just can't help but root for. And these stories really seem to be resonating with people. Across the board, audiences seem to be tuning in. At time of recording, Project Hail Mary is sitting at a 96% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes with an 8.4 Metacritic rating. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is at 78% Rotten Tomatoes score and an 8.0 Metacritic rating. And that's not to say that it's all about critic scores and ratings, but it seems like the chatter online seems to be pointing in this direction as well, if you look at the memes and the things that people are posting. Audiences seem to be loving these stories, and I'm absolutely here for it. Because at the end of the day, we all could use a little bit more uplifting content in our lives. We could all use stories that encourage us to be courageous and strong and stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. I suspect that these movies and others like them will continue to do well, and if the trend holds, I believe we're going to see a lot more content like this in the future. And I hope that they inspire people, because we could use more heroes in this world right now. And I can't wait to see what stories come next. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. This is my first YouTube video, and I hope you found it interesting. Please consider giving me a like, a comment, or subscribing, all that YouTube stuff. But regardless of that, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I'll catch you on the next one.